It is not every day that you meet a best-selling author, so stay tuned. Well, welcome back to Note School TV. I'm Brian. I am here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central when we do Note School TV. And so I'm really glad that you're joining us today. If this is your first time and these videos are valuable to you, please go and like these videos. It means a lot to us. We'd love for you to subscribe to the channel to get as much content as you possibly can. And specifically for Note School TV, what you should do is click that bell notification so that you get notified when we go live so that you can participate and engage with us during Note School TV. Bring your questions, bring your thoughts, your opinions, and we're even going to have an after party at the end. So stick around where we can kind of chat a little bit more and engage with you and your questions and stuff like that. If it's your first time to Note School TV and you're trying to figure out what's Note School and what's this whole thing about, and you're just trying to figure out what's next and kind of where can I learn more, I'd love to invite you to come to noteschool.com/TV to just learn a little bit more about what Note School is, what we're about, and kind of how you can get engaged. And so we've got a very special guest today. But before we do that, we want to talk about some of the hot topics. And so I want to bring on my good friend Joe to talk about the news.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Brian. How are you today, man?
I'm doing good, my man. What's the hot news you got today?
What is the 911, right? Well, it's as always in the housing and the mortgage business, it is interesting news today, right? So in our first piece here from MReport, as you can see there, CoreLogic, Case Shiller reported yesterday, and this is just popped in yesterday, that home prices surged 10.4% in 2020, right? 10.4%. This is the first double-digit increase since January of 2014. But the really interesting part of this, guys, is that home prices were up between November and December, were up 0.85%, so almost 1%, which is the largest increase in home prices since Case Shiller started and CoreLogic started keeping these data points, right? So that is huge. So then we look at the housing supply, right? Why are prices surging? Well, obviously there's a housing shortage, right? So the number of houses for sale, according to Redfin, on multiple lists is 696,312. It's down 44, almost 45%, guys, 44.8% year over year. Newly listed homes are down 10.2%. Median days on the market are 34 days, which is down 22%. So they're flying off the wall. And number of months supply is 1.6. So folks, a healthy real estate market is considered, there's about 3 months of supply on the market. So meanwhile, back at the ranch, 2.6 million homeowners are in forbearance still, right? And then on top of that, another 2.1 million folks are in some state of default, right? They're past due. Maybe the foreclosure process hasn't been started, but there's about 2.1 million that are in default. So what does that mean, guys? That means that about 9.9% of mortgaged houses are in some state of disarray, right? There's about 53 million mortgaged houses on the books, single family homes at any given time. So if we've got 4.7 million, that's about 9% of mortgaged homes are in some sort of disarray. So we've got two different economies. What does that mean when for you guys, for us? It means when you find a place, right? When you find a house, there is no problem selling it, right? Now, here's the other piece of that, and this is something that we've been talking about, right? We've been talking about it very, very seriously over the past, well, little while, right? Almost 7-8 months. So this was just announced that almost half of U.S. counties at above average risk for increased rental property defaults. And here's the interesting part of that, is that almost, and we know this, we've been talking about this, so almost 90% of these properties, of this 22.1 million single family, we're not talking about apartments, we're talking about single family rentals, almost 90% of this 22.1 million single family rental houses are owned by mom and pop investors, right? Which own, we know, less than 5 houses, 5 to 10 houses, according to Realty Trac. So guys, what does that mean for you? We've been talking about it. And Eddie, if you want to jump in here and we can talk about this real quick, that would be great. But what this means for us, guys, is that these folks have felt the pressure, and there's never been a better time to work with burnt out landlords, right? BOLs.
Yeah. Hey, guys, there is no doubt that there's a couple of things that we place a high value, and that is that you see that we put a lot of energy and time into data, and we scrape data every week. And Joe obviously is involved in it, and some other executives in our company. And the reason we do that is because you can make good decisions when you have information. We find that a lot of people involved in real estate or maybe reading the headline of houses are on fire for sale. And that is a true statement for sure. But there's also some distress in the market. And if you're looking to buy something or deal in the market and find a void in the market that you can fill, you need some data to know where that is. So that's obviously why we place such a value on that. And we will continue to do that as this market shifts. Joe, real estate is on fire.
Real estate is on fire, as evidenced, and we are certainly in 100% agreement on that, my friend. So, wow, I'm really excited, Eddie. Brian?
It's a big day. I told our team before we started the recording, I said, I woke up this morning thinking about this interview, and I was like really excited. And I have a long history with this guy, so I know him really well. And I'm just so excited for him to come on and share just a gift to people that are willing to accept it. And that is this new book he's written, and the wisdom and the vision that I think that you're going to learn from that. So I am very, very, very excited today to introduce a long friend of mine, and a man that I would tell you in every aspect that I truly trust and admire. His integrity, his vision, his clarity. And let me tell you something, he is one smart investor. Absolutely, he is. And I can't think of anybody that I would define as more well-rounded, and a guy that I would want my kids to learn to be like than Dr. David Phelps.
Yay.
Well, that was very kind of you, sir. And, you know, the feelings are mutual. We've known each other for many, many years, and we've enjoyed watching our families grow and mature, and the generations expand. And I think we all get to a point in life where, yeah, the doing of the thing, whatever we do, the making of the money, it's all great. It can be fun, exhilarating, but I believe there's more. And how do you put those things together is really kind of the construct of my book, What's Your Next? So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, David, before we talk about the book, one thing that's sort of ironic, and I was sitting here doing some preparation this morning, I got to be a big part of a next for you.
Yes, you did.
And that was because that was when you sold your practice.
Yeah.
And we hung out together a lot, and you were very involved in the note space in doing that, and still are, but certainly deeply involved in it back then. And I was really thinking about it, like you talk about these next in your life, and that was exactly at a point as to where you were. So,
yeah, you know, I look back the same way, and you know, my situation was, you know, I definitely had a void in my life, not a bad void at that time, and we can talk a little bit about that. But I think wherever people are in life is one of the big things that have helped me gain more clarity about what I could shift to, what I could adapt to, is people. And I value my relationships with different people, different circles of people. We can talk about, circles of influence, and every one of us has, probably a tight group, maybe a group of 5. You're in the center and there's 5 people, who they are in your life, the people that, you probably talk to on a regular basis, you hang out with. Maybe they've been longtime friends, maybe they've been fairly recent, but there's some common bond there where you keep up a regular pulse. And there's another circle out from that. Still awesome people, right? And that you've connected with and you maintain some connection with, wherever that might be. And there's different circles, and these are all people that you can utilize in a mutually beneficial way, collaboratively. And when I was in that void place, and me, I've always loved real estate. I mean, I should have never gone into dentistry. I should have just stayed in real estate, but I couldn't help myself. So I came back, but I hadn't been in the business of real estate. And I always enjoyed what you've been able to do, kind of like living vicariously through you. I'm in the dental office, Eddie, and I'm seeing patients, and I can't wait to get a procedure done because I want to go back and get at my HP12C and run numbers, because you got me so involved in looking at how can you make your money work for you. And here I am, I got to go back to the chair, and look, I'm not complaining here, earn $1,000 by doing a crown and a root canal on somebody. Well, okay, that's great. What are you complaining about, David? Well, I got to get up and go do that again and again and again and again. How can I get capital working for me? And so real estate was always the thing I loved. And so when I had that void, I go, well, I don't really know the business of real estate. I know how to invest, but how can I get more involved there? And so we just, opportune time, you had a place, and I just said, hey, kind of going back to my whole mantra is in life is don't look for the return on, your direct trading time for dollars. I came to you and I didn't say, Eddie, I need a job. I'd say, Eddie, I didn't say, Eddie, because you put me on the payroll. I promise I'll be a good worker. I said, Eddie, I'd like to come volunteer because I wanted to learn more about your knowledge base and what you did, because I'm not knowing where I want to go. It was an opportunity. Finally I could go do this, so it was huge.
It was great. This was around 2008, guys. And so, so David and I worked together. He was deeply involved in what we do and helped really form a lot of things that I had in my mind, and I could talk things out with David. So David, you have written other books, right? And we're going to talk about your great new book today. But you've written other books, and you've written this awesome new book, What's Your Next? And I just cannot encourage you guys enough. This book really, really is a masterpiece in basically thinking about beyond where you're at right now. And I've seen David Phelps live it. I've seen him execute it. I've seen him take lots of people in the direction of understanding how to go pursue what's your next. So what was your inspiration for it?
I have written other books, Eddie, and most of those books were based on more technical aspects of what I've learned in real estate, and bringing those technical aspects and kind of the how-tos and the strategies to the people that are kind of my affinity group, which are professional practice owners and doctors and dentists. And that was fun to kind of take the things I'd learned and take it to a group of people who I knew wanted to be more passive in investing, whether it was in equities or in notes, and just show them there was a better way. So that was fun. But what I realized was that as I was having an opportunity to weigh into people's lives and help impact their lives, that my message was just organically starting to change. I always loved the real estate and the technical part, and I love the orchestration of deals. And I get. But I realized that my message was actually saying real estate's a vehicle. It is. It's a great vehicle. A lot of my people don't want to get into the business of. But they want to know how can I connect to real estate? How can I connect to people who are in the business and kind of ride along or joint venture, take participations? And so I realized that I need to start speaking to a larger message about, well, what does real estate really do for you? I mean, what can it do for you? Well, it can make me more money. Yeah. Make me more wealthy. Yeah. But what does that mean? I mean, what does having more money mean? And so that's why I started thinking about my own life is money or wealth is an exchange for what we really want. And too many people, not wrongly, I mean, you have to focus on metrics and understand the numbers. You have to be profitable in what you do. You can't put that aside. But too many people get focused on, well, I need to create so much money or so much cash flow without being specific about what that's going to do for them. And so when you're specific about what your goals really mean, then you can back in to the strategies or tactics, the vehicle, in this case, real estate that we all love, and say, well, now how can I mold that into what I want, what my family wants, what my wife and I want? Without that vision and clarity, everybody, I don't care who you are, you're on a treadmill. You're on a treadmill, making a lot of money, perhaps, but how are you going to see that to fruition to what you really want? That's why I wrote the book, because it, again, wasn't some magic that I came up with. It was just understanding what I went through and then what I've seen through the eyes of other people, and kind of putting these things together in a book that I hope gives a message that resonates with the readers.
Yeah, and one thing, David, I think is important is you are a dentist by training. You're a very seasoned creative finance guy and real estate investor by experience, right? So those are two things, and you and I are in the same age bracket, right? But who did you write the book for? Was there a target audience?
Yeah, it was. I wanted this book to be multi-generational. So as I said, I wrote books in the past that were mostly targeted towards professional practice, business owners that, were down the road in life. And I thought, what if I could write a book that would meet the needs, desires, the questions, the challenges of multiple generations? You've got young family members that are, started out, they're on life path right now. And I know a lot too. And I members of Freedom Founders, my mastermind community, they've got young sons and daughters who are just getting started in their life. Well, what if I could sow into them? They don't have to go into real estate. They don't have to go into dentistry. I don't care. I want to give them some frameworks to look at life in a different way, because I think too often that society and well-meaning people, parents, teachers, professors in school, kind of set a standard. Well, this is what success looks like in life. And to have that standard, you need to do certain things. You need to go to school and get certain grades. Well, I'm not against going to school and having grades or going as high as you want to on the educational totem. I'm not against that, but you need to have a reason why, because today, as we all know, young people are coming out of school, college and graduate school, with enormous amounts of debt, probably with not a really good game plan as to why they went, except that, oh, that's what you're supposed to do to be successful. Well, we know a lot of people who didn't go down those marching orders and actually, I think, live lives of more freedom than those who actually went into these highly specialized areas. Again, I'm not demeaning any of that, but the point is, you've got to have clarity and not just go down a road that says, this is the way you do it. This is the way the majority does it. I think that's wrong.
David, I'm a big fan of predictive index. Mm-hmm. And I'm 61 years old, and my predictive index says I'm a captain. That probably wouldn't shock you, right? I'm not a maverick, okay? So, but you knowing me deeply, that is who I am. But what if I were 25 years old and I didn't know who I was, and I spent $50,000 a year on education to go get an education in something that I wasn't suited to do, right? And so I just a suggestion. I think this book really does a great job of helping people seek and discover their next, right? And so I wanted to just get you to talk about that. And why, and David, why is that important?
Because, again, I think any stage of life, but particularly when we're young and we're kind of looking ahead to when we're going to be adults and start living as individuals and responsible and starting families, is, we have a certain vision about what that looks like from, looking up at our families and our parents and other people we think are, quote, successful. We have a vision of what that looks like. And whatever path we go down, which means, your career path, your technical training path, whatever it might be, you get into that thinking that's how you do it. And working hard and perseverance are great characteristics. You can't get anywhere in life without them. And there's a sacrifice period that I believe we all have to pay in life, unless you happen to be a trust fund baby, which I don't know many of those, Eddie. But there's a sacrifice period. You've got to put in the time, the effort. You got to sometimes do some manual labor. But I think as quickly as possible, and this is what I try to tell young people, is to get away from the trading time for dollars and actually create, acquire, build assets that will produce income, revenue, cash flow for you without you having to be involved in the management or the doing of that thing on a regular basis. Now, if you love doing it, fine. So what does that mean? Well, capital, I love capital assets. So I'm differentiating, obviously, between stock market financial assets, stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, index funds. That's fine if people feel like that's going to get them there. I never believed in that. I believed in tangible assets. So capital assets would be businesses, but businesses that don't require your full-time attention. And I mean, unless you love it, but that's not passive revenue. That's showing up every day and making things happen. Then businesses that are more passive, or you have a participation, you have an ownership, but you have other people running them some of the time, most of the time. And then, of course, our real estate assets. The tangible asset that I love more than anything, because there's so many ways to create that income. So that's really, boy, I went a long ways away from your question, didn't I? Bring me back.
Well, I mean, the thing is, David, I appreciate the fact, and you've mentioned real estate, and you've owned as many notes as you have pieces of real estate. I'm assuming, is that a fair statement?
Yeah, probably pretty close to an even ratio. Yeah.
So understand you've done both sides of the spectrum, and it doesn't. We know it really probably doesn't matter. I think notes are more passive than real estate, and I think there is a chapter in the markets that kind of lead us one way or another. So there's something else, though, that I thought was really important that you talked about in the book, because you and I are gigantic fans of self-directed retirement accounts, right? I mean, you and I, as people that have educational platforms, we talk probably as much about that subject as just about anybody in the market, right? Is there a place for the word retirement, in the society?
Well, not in my world. That's an old construct that came out of the industrial age, where people, went to work as employees, as workers, worked on factories, and there was it was a model that said you worked X number of years to get to your quote retirement age, and then you had some kind of a pension plan many years ago that you were supposed to ride out your golden years. See, that's so backwards today. I think we should just obliterate the word retirement, because I think you can, if you want to use the word retirement, but say I'm going to retire from this model of my life, this phase of my life, but I'm going to retire into my next part of the book, right? But I don't like that word. I say you should always be evolving. You should always be, wherever you are, whatever you're doing right now, you should be thinking about what other passions, skill sets, collaborations could I be setting up or doing, even on a part-time basis to give me additional opportunities, so that when I either want to iterate, shift, pivot, or I need to because the market changes, something in my industry changes, something happens to me or my family, you've got to have the ability to shift today more than ever. And if you just stay in one specialized model, what you were trained to do, the hat you were told to wear, because this is how you behave when you're this, that, or the other, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, you can't just rely on that one thing. You've got to have plan Bs, multiple streams of income, multiple opportunities to adapt. And I think that's where we get it wrong in life. It's this factory model. You go do this one thing, you get good at doing that, you trade time for dollars, and then you're supposed to retire. And too many people don't know what they're going to retire to. So besides the financial barrier to be able to quote retire, there's also, well, who am I now? I'm 60, 65 years old and I'm still healthy. What do I do? Never even thought about that, right? It seems like it's so far off for many years, and yet the time travels quickly. So I never believe in retiring. I think we should always be evolving to what's our next.
That's awesome. All right. So look, an after party, I'm going to take an area that you talked about in the book, 5 freedom assets. And I'm going to get you to talk about that. We'll finish the show, but in the after party, I'm going to talk about it. Would you name those really quick, though, and we'll talk about them more in detail in the after party?
Yeah, 5 freedom assets, 5 assets you should consider investing in to always have your next in mind. So number 1 is investing in yourself. Self-education is the big one. Number 2, investing in your business, whatever that might be. Number 3, investing in relationships. We talked about that earlier. Number 4, investing in capital. Here I'm talking about more your capital that's going to be in more passive investments. Your investment, making your money work for you. And number 5 is investing in your legacy, which to me is your purpose, your real meaning in life. How are you having impact? So those are the 5.
Awesome. Okay, so I know we've got some slides. I just wanted to show this real quick. So I was very honored that David did send me a book ahead of time, and a pre-launch book. And thank you so much for that. And also, David did something else, which is not surprising of David Phelps. So I wanted to just pull that slide up and talk and just get you to talk about that a minute, David, because that really that's a go-giver mentality right there.
So we wanted, I just mentioned legacy and impact, and I think we can be having impact every day of our lives just by how we touch people, how we talk to people. So it doesn't have to be something major, but we thought in setting up this book with What's Your Next, how could we have some impact? Now we chose Tanzania, and here's why. The connection is a couple of our team members, Alex and Robert, just use their first names, 3 years ago, took a young man who was blind and had some physical issues from cancer, who wanted to hike and peak Mount Kilimanjaro, Tanzania. All right. This young man has physical disabilities besides being blind, and they flew over with this group and got this young man to the top. It was not easy. And because of that connection, we thought, well, how can we help other entrepreneurs, would-be business owners in Tanzania? So all of our good friends like you, Eddie, that I've known for many years, all my relationships, we sent out, the book with the fact that we were donating through a really amazing group called B1G1. You can look it up, B1G1. But if you ever want to find a place to partner with a very authentic group that helps you specifically donate to a cause that you have some connection with, that's a great group to do it. So that's why we did it. That's why we chose Tanzania.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. If I know anybody that's a go-giver, it's Dr. David Phelps. So, David, I'm hoping a lot of people are pretty fired up about the book. So maybe we should show them how to go get the book. You can see that I'm holding mine fairly tight. And so we are really excited about the launch and have gotten in on it. And there's obviously the Amazon information there. And if you guys are looking for a book that I believe could be a game changer in your mindset, Dr. David Phelps has written a book called What's Your Next? And I think it will absolutely change your mind. So I'm going to let these guys finish up. David, I'll see you in the after party, sir.
Thank you, Eddie.
Wow.
Oh, man. Wow. That was amazing, right?
That was, and obviously a huge thank you to Dr. Phelps for taking time and kind of sharing this content. As you kind of saw some of the comments, people are loving the content. He's obviously given some great nuggets away, and we're going to keep going in the after party as well. But before we get too far down the line, I've got to mention our sponsor, who's going to be Notes Direct and the Feeding Frenzy Friday. That's right. The Feeding Frenzy Friday is simply a playlist on our Note School channel, YouTube channel, that allows you to watch some seasoned investors break down the details of note investing and break down specifically notes that are on the Notes Direct platform. We talk about performing notes, we talk about non-performing notes, and really kind of the due diligence and some of the things to consider. So if that's something for you, make sure you're checking out the link that you see on the screen, and you can go check out lots of the videos that we've already published, learn a little bit more and start to master your note investing. As I said at the beginning, if you're somebody who this was a great video for you, this is, you really enjoyed hearing from Dr. Phelps, please like this video, subscribe to this channel so that you're always getting kind of some updates. And specifically for Note School TV, make sure that you are clicking the bell notification so that each and every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time, you're getting a heads up that, hey, we're going live and you should jump on, join us, and engage with us. Bring your comments, bring your questions, and make sure you're sticking around for the after party as well. We're going to hang around here in a little bit. That's going to do it for Note School TV today. If you can stick around, we'll see you on the other side. If not, we'll see you next week. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Phelps. I really appreciate you taking some time to hang with us today and share a little bit.
It's great and really enjoy it. And by the way, your production team, this is way better than watching like CNN or MSNBC. way better content. So big thumbs up for me. I'm going to start tuning in on a regular basis. I love the way you got it formatted. Really, really well done.
Well, thank you. Fantastic. Well, Eddie, I know you had some things you wanted to make sure we covered. Obviously, I saw Shelly in the comments saying always evolving, kind of quoting Dr. Phelps here. And so it's there's a lot of good nuggets we want to kind of dig into as people are adding comments and stuff. So I'll kind of let you you start it off, Mr. Speed.
Well, one of the things that David talks about in the book, and I think everybody's really going to enjoy reading and digging into, but I thought it would be of value for him to talk about it a little bit more, is these freedom assets, these 5 freedom assets you mentioned. And, obviously, David, those things are, to me, they as I look at your path, I think they define your path.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you figure this out?
Well, I didn't have it figured out at the beginning of anything at all. I mean, this is, we all have a story. We all go through life, and as we age up, we have more experiences, right? More gray hair equals more experiences. So when you look back at your experiences in life and you start to see kind of what moved the needle this way, that way, it wasn't my big plan. But as I look back and looked at what were some of the key, and that's why I call them freedom assets. What were the key things that I did? And I put them in a framework of 5 keys that as I look back in my life, these were the significant areas. And they didn't all happen at once. I mean, these were, and I don't think you can put the same amount of emphasis on all 5 at the same time. You should, it's not a ladder where you do one and the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, and the 5th one being legacy. I think, again, you can be doing and should be, we're looking all 5, but maybe there's more of a concentration on 1 or 2 than the other. So that's part of your blueprint. Your personal blueprint is figuring that out. But I had to put all 5 in the book because as I look back, they all were part of me getting through the ups and downs and twists and turns of the lives we live as entrepreneurs, as people that want more control of our lives. But with that control comes responsibility. It also requires us to be willing to test. Not get too comfortable in life, not just feel like the status quo is good enough, because that's not who we are. And so not being afraid to test some things and not being afraid of, quote, failure, because I don't think failure should ever be a word that we really hang our hat on. Failure is something that teaches us great lessons if we're willing to look at them and then use those. So that's the 5 freedoms. So we can go down the order there and talk about those in a little bit more detail if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do that. Invest in yourself.
So we all know that we should be our primary best asset. Ourselves, that's an asset that no one can take away from us. The government can't come tax us out of us. They can't put restriction or regulations on the way we think in our knowledge-based experience. So that's an asset that you can rely on as long as you're breathing. And so we typically think about investment in ourselves as formal education, and that is a piece of it. Going to school, and if you decide to go on to higher levels of learning, there's an investment there. And I'm not saying again that's wrong. Just do it with purpose. Do it with purpose. But I believe that on the other side of the formal education, whatever your degree is, your license, your certificate, there's the other side, which I call, well, I don't just call it. It's out there. It's self-education. Jim Rohn, one of the great thought leaders for decades, who's no longer with us, but Jim Rohn often said that formal education will provide a living for you. Self-education will provide, I don't want to mess it up, like wealth, like abundance. So self-education is something that you never stop doing. That whatever your degree or position in life is, whatever you've achieved in terms of formal education, the self-education is something that lets you just keep building. And there may not be any certificates with that. The certificate is the fact that you are allowing yourself to build more adaptability and flexibility into your life and have that opportunity to go to your next, whether you're looking for it or you need to move to it, like I did. Without having the flexibility, you're kind of stuck, and you think, well, this is all I can do. This is what I trained to do. I have to do this, and if that's not working out, then do you go back to formal school again? Well, you can, but I think there's so many better ways to move yourself and adapt from where you are today, based on the goals and vision you have for your life. So what I'm saying to people that are with us today is wherever you are, don't feel like you're stuck. And because this has been your chosen business or profession or career, that it's all you got. It's not. It's a piece. It's a piece of it. So self-education is very, very important. So that's the number one. Number two is invest in your business. Now, some people may be still in a position where they're working for other people, working hopefully with a great company or something you enjoy. Even if you don't own a business that's your primary, you can have a secondary business. It's what you do at Note School so well. You help people who have primary businesses and interests get into a business that involves real estate, and really on a basis that's different than most people think about real estate. Yeah. You don't have to be a realtor. You don't have to out there and go list houses. There's a place to be. So you can have your own business outside of a primary business, or if you're working for somebody else. So focusing on that's separate business or your primary business, and creating a real business that doesn't require you to show up every day and trade time for dollars. Maybe you do it first, and then maybe over time you build the business and have other people and systems and processes in place that now start to give you some freedom of what we really want in life is time. So that's number two, invest in your business. Number three is invest in relationships. I say your network is your net worth. Going back to Jim Rohn, who I mentioned a minute ago, he says you become the average of the 5 people with whom you most associate. And I think that's really true. If you want to up your game, meaning up your knowledge base, your experience, your options in life, then look around to see who you spend the most time with. And if you're not spending time with people who challenge you, who you definitely feel like have gone further down the path towards freedom than you have, that you respect because they live a life of integrity and values, you've got to put yourself in those places with those people. Don't stay stagnant in one group. Even if the people around you are good people, that's fine, but you've got to be challenged. Relationships are everything. We talked about earlier on the show, Eddie, that you and I have known each other for a number of years, and we spent time in each other's world and family and business at different places over time. Well, we do that with lots of people, and that ability to leverage in a mutually beneficial way other people's expertise and time and connections, experience, skill sets. It's the best. I mean, you can't just do everything on your life solo. You try to do that and you're going to hit a ceiling, and it's going to be frustrating because you feel like, how come I can't break through? Well, you haven't learned how to really develop collaborative relationships. And we weren't built to do that. Most of us, we were built, well, Eddie, you're a rodeo star back in the day. Who was there helping you when it was time to get out there and ride that bucking bronco? Was there someone there to hold your hand? Well, maybe when you were a little kid, but not as an adult. You had to do it by yourself. You had to train. You had to do the hard work. Okay, that's good. But to build a business or collaboration, you got to do it with other people. I mean, and that's what you've done at Note School. I mean, I've watched you through the years. Your relationships with the people who have been near and dear to you, even people from the past, they always come back, and there's always like good feelings there. See, that's a skill set that anybody can achieve, but sometimes some of us have to work at it harder. And I say I'm an introvert. I have to work harder at that, but it's worth the time and effort to find those right people in your life, because you'll never regret having made great relationships in your life. Never regret that. So that's number 3. Number 4, invest in your capital base. So now we're outside the primary business, right? Or the primary job. Now we have capital. We've been good stewards of our money. We don't spend beyond our means. Now we take money, we've saved some after taxes, and now this is going to be my passive investments. I'm not going to be involved directly in running those investments, but I want to find a place to put them. So learning how to make your money work for you, at least as hard as you work for it, which most people abdicate that. Unfortunately, most people listen to the world of Wall Street. Wall Street says, hey, David, you want to save money on your taxes? Come over here. I got just a thing for you. I got this thing called 401k. Baby, go to town. Now, I'm not against retirement plans, okay? But I'm saying have a retirement plan that you can self-direct. And that's the problem that most people, they put on Wall Street where they have no access to the decision making of that. It's with a money manager, a fiduciary who gives maybe a few menu items of things you can pick on Wall Street. I don't particularly care for Wall Street. My history is in tangible assets, real estate. Right. So if I've got a retirement plan, I'm going to make sure I can self-direct it so I can put it in the kind of assets that I believe in and I have some control over, even on a passive basis. So that's number 4, invest in your capital. Number 5, investing in your legacy. Why is that important? People think about their legacy as something that they're going to leave to people at the end of life. Typically, it's about what? Wealth and money and trust funds and whatever you want to do. And that's fine. That's fine. But I think it's a lot better to think about what we can leave in people versus what we leave to them. You can do both. But what do you leave in them? So what are you teaching people that you care about? The generations to come up, your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, people in your tribe, their sons and daughters. What are we leaving in them today, and not just when we're at the end of our life? So how are you sowing into other people's life? We've got to be doing that all along. And again, sometimes we have to be working more on ourselves in our business to get ourselves freer. It's like put your oxygen mask on first. I'm a believer in that. But once you have yours on and secure, and you're sucking the oxygen, now help other people get theirs on. And that's legacy. That's impact. Start doing it now. You're living your legacy today, every day, not just at the end with your will and your estate planning.
Man, that is some rock solid stuff. So, by the way, for those of you that may have checked in late, this is about Dr. David Phelps' brand new book, What's Your Next? And you will see the link here in the thread on Amazon. You can order it. It just was launched literally yesterday. And so we are so excited to have Dr. Phelps and really sharing with us a path that I personally know that everything he's talking about in that book, he's lived it and done it. And he and I kind of laughed that we've seen each other at spots in our life when things weren't really that good, or there were certainly rocks in the road. And he talks about that so well in the book and like how to push past that. So, Joe, Brian,
I have a question, Eddie.
Yeah,
I have a real quick, something that you said, and I was like caught off guard for a second. You talked about, was it a sacrifice period or was it a sacrifice time? Can you just say that one more time? Because I was trying to make the notes on it because I'm in here taking notes as well, right?
Yeah. So Joe, unless we were the beneficiaries of some big wealth transfer from, an inheritance,
right,
then there's a sacrifice period. We all have to do some manual labor. We have to go to school. We have to get training, right? We have to do that and investing in ourselves, as talked about first and foremost. So, but the problem is most people, all they do to improve their situation, it's linear growth. So what does that mean? Well, so you get into your life and your business, your career, and you add improvement to it by, again, investing in continuing education and maybe you add some more efficiencies to the things that you do in providing service or product. Those will provide you linear improvement. But we're still in a position when we're doing that, we're still trading time for dollars. And I think we're still potentially, most people are still sacrificing a lot of the things they'd really want to have in life, which is probably, again, coming back to time to spend it with other people, or maybe it's their hobbies or passions, which most people say, well, that's not the way it's supposed to be in life. You're supposed to, go to school, get a job, get a career, get a business, and work that baby. You work, meaning the key words, you work till you're at retirement age, 60, 65. Some people are going to 70 because they kind of have to. And then when I get there to retirement, then I'm going to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Then we're going to travel and I'm going to spend time with the family and all these great things. And the problem, guys, is that mystical someday most time doesn't show up because something happens. Yeah. Something happens to somebody or somebody's health or some situation. And those great things you were going to do, they don't happen. So my point is there is a sacrifice period. You don't just launch out and go out and have some magnificent business where you show up one day a week and the money is just coming in. Nope. You got to pay the price. You've got to do the work. You got to have the relationships. You got to be in mastermind groups where you're learning from other people. But as quickly as you can start transferring from your need to trade time for dollars on a basis more than you want to do, that's where you start to find freedom. And I don't mean you have to be at a point where you just go lay on a hammock on the beach, because I'd get bored stiff after about 4 hours of that, and I'd be, burned. It's like, no, I want to be doing something. So when you're not in a need position where you have to like make a certain amount of money every month, which is where we all start, not taking away, that's the sacrifice period. Move the needle beyond that as quickly as possible. And the way you do that is you got to be with other people who have already made that move, so that you're not sitting back and going, well, that could never work for me. That they were just lucky. It just somehow happened. No. Nobody's lucky who had to work for anything. Everybody has a story. We've all gone through ups and downs and challenges in life. And that's part of the journey. That's part of where opportunity lies, because on the other side of adversity, I've always seen opportunity. It just wasn't fun getting there, is it, Eddie? Sometimes.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, it's absolutely true that we don't know what we don't know. And we haven't seen what we haven't seen. And I think the environments that you're talking about, David, is where we get exposed to things that otherwise we didn't know. Right. I am shocked and amazed at sometimes I get to teach people that are excessively smarter than me, but I was taught a mindset 40 years ago by my father-in-law. And I just share what I was taught. And now I hopefully live part of that. And then I see people like Dr. Phelps live it. And so it's just a mindset. And once again, environment is everything. So Brian, any last questions before we leave?
I wouldn't say it's a question, but I would say that for a lot of us, we hear things like Dr. Phelps was just talking about. We feel a little inspired, but we're not sure what that next step is. And so I wanted to just encourage you that one of the things he started with was investing in yourself. And so one of the first steps that you can do if you're looking for a next step is simply go to Amazon and buy this book. Start reading it. Start trying to pick up the wisdom and the knowledge that's in it so that you can continue that journey. So go to Amazon. What's your next? Thank you so much, Dr. Phelps, for spending some time with us. That's going to wrap us up for this week's episode of Note School TV. We'll plan on seeing everyone next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time.